So, as the title of the book states, it's Chopin, his life, and his music. Especially his music. So this is the book I'm going to be talking about today. It's Chopin, his life, and his music by James Huneker. It's a academic biography that goes more into his technique as composer, themes he would do, his style of composition, his style as a pianist when he was alive, his musical influences, his influence on other composers. It goes more into the technical end of his music than who he was as a man. In fact, the book is structured in two parts. The first part is his life story, from being born in Poland all the way up to his death. And the second half, which is much longer, is all the technical details about his individual works. Now, I love Chopin. He's my favorite classical guy. To me, he's the best classical composer. His music does something to me that other classical music doesn't always do. Most composers don't reach me on his level. So when I bought this book, I was under more of an impression that it'd be more of a longer biographical book with the details of his music woven into his life. Around the time he was writing this, or around the time he was writing that, or these are the things he learned when he was, studying music. But no, it's a very short book, and over half of it is devoted just to his technical techniques as a composer, and his the notation, and a lot of other things that I frankly don't know anything about. I know a little bit about the man. I've read some other biographies of Chopin. This is a pretty, for short as it is, it covers his life pretty thoroughly. But it doesn't go into as much depth as I would have liked. It doesn't cover new ground that I hadn't already read in other books. Also, even his Wikipedia article about his life is longer than this. This is a book, though, I would recommend more if you're a music major in college, or if you know anything about composition, if you write music yourself, then that aspect of it would be more appealing. Not that I don't like it. I mean, I love music itself. I'm a big music guy. I listen to it all the time. I like a wide variety of music. I like various different composers of music. I just don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about the technical end of it. I can't read music. I couldn't, I can't, if someone put sheet music in front of me, I couldn't play it. I can play music, but I don't know how to, read notation and things. When I sit down on the piano, I'm like, oh, these 5 keys do this tone, and this 5 key does this tone, and that's about as far as I go. So, that aspect would be more appealing to someone who is familiar with the technique of the art and science of writing music. I can only appreciate it more as on an abstract level when I listen to it. I'm like, oh, that's aesthetically beautiful and it moves me, but I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, the way he, did the variances on this chord and this arpeggio was fantastic. I don't know anything about that. Sadly. Sorry. Sorry. I'm dumb, so, I'm more of the guy who knows a lot about novels and comics than I do music. As far as, the technical end of writing music. I know a lot about music in general, as far as, culturally, but don't know much about it writing-wise. This is a good biography if you're interested in that. If you're just more who was he? What did he write? What was his, style like? What was he about as a composer? This is definitely the book for you. If you're more like me and just wanted to read a biography, just a straightforward, his birth, his life, his later life, his death, not so much. Though the weird thing is, I've looked all over the internet, I've looked in libraries, I've looked at university libraries. I can't fucking find anything about him. It's weird, every other composer under the sun is written about numerous times. I can barely find shit about Chopin, which is weird, because he's regarded as, one of the greats. He's in the pantheon of, classical composers. So you would think it would be easier to find stuff written about him, but strangely enough, at least wherever I've looked, and even just on like sites like Amazon and eBay, I can't find very many biographies. If you ever read, were like scarce, and I had to really like hunt all over for them. So take that for what you will. It's academic biography as opposed to more of a personal project for the writer. I felt like the writer was more like, I like music, I know how to read music, I love his compositional skill, and yeah, I'll put a little bit about his life. That's what reading it feels like. Plus, it's an older book, so it has a very kind of rigid academia kind of writing style. It's very, this was written like, the 1900s. I mean, this is a very old school book. It's a lot older than things I typically read. A lot older than things I even typically talk about on this series. I think the oldest thing I've talked about was the Voltaire novel so far. But these are kind of more exceptions than my usual thing for those who follow me. And for those of you who don't, I don't typically talk about stuff this old. But yeah, but it's definitely, if you don't know anything about Chopin, then it's definitely a good book to pick up. When I was reading it, I was just wishing that Chopin himself would have written like a memoir or an autobiography. I mean, he wrote numerous letters to people we know, but everybody did back then. But how cool would it have been to like hear his life story from his own perspective and through his own words? That would have been so much more interesting than reading a very dry, beat by beat, passionless like biography like the one I'm just describing. How much more interesting it would have been to have been like Chopin in his own words. I think that about a lot of people. Like, there's a lot of like creative people who never wrote anything about themselves or published any memoirs or anything. And I think, how amazing that would have been to have actually been like in their own words, to read, like Frida Kahlo in her own words. Oh my God, how amazing that would have been. Or even other composers, like Bach talking about himself and his influences and his life story, and how amazing that would have been. Or Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Stravinsky, any of these people. Like, I mean, that would have been cool. And, or other people. Like, imagine if, like, Anne Sexton had written a memoir. That would have been, like, just as, like, soul-crushing and as enlightening as her poetry was. I mean, or, my God, Emily Dickinson. That would have been a feast of, like, details and interesting, like, story. Interesting, like, perspectives on her poetry. To shed some light on who she was. Instead of more just what people can garnish from her letters and, like, what people around her said. I mean, and I know not everybody is a writer. I know that people who even do write don't always write about themselves. I get that, I'm just saying, it's a nice what if. If we got all these biographies and memoirs from all these creative, brilliant people, that would have been nice. But yeah, for what this book is, it's not bad. Not what I expected, but not bad. Just a lot of it I can't relate to. But I kind of was kind of wanting more the kind of an insight as to his person, to his kind of his dreams and his thoughts and his ideas, which I can hear in his music, but I wanted to know where the basis for that was. Sadly, not much represented here, though. So, yeah. So unless you're like someone who knows a lot about musical technique or can even read music or all that, sit this one out. I would recommend another biography of Chopin if you can fucking find one. If you do, let me know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just kind of rambling about this stuff now. So, anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, guys, so much. If you like what I do, you can subscribe. If not, then I'm sorry I wasted your time. Then again, I don't know why you would have made it this far anyway, but if you don't. But anyway, I'll be back soon with another video. I know I said that a few days ago. It's been a couple of days. I've been busy. And honestly, I've just been, just going through some stuff. So, but I'm doing better now. So I should have another video out soon. So till then, I will stop rambling and wasting your time, and I will catch you later. Bye.